All right, well, let's get started. Hello, friends watching this video. I'm here with the wonderful Jules Dan, and we're going to be talking about getting out of your comfort zone and finding your zone of genius. What you're seeing right here is the behind the scenes, unedited version of this interview. Yay, the original one, the original recording is going to be on the Stand Out Get Noticed podcast. So I hope you enjoy. Jules Dan, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
That's all right, Christina. So serendipitous to be here. It always seems like our meetups are serendipitous.
I know, because so we met at a networking event, like randomly. Like you came as a guest and I was there and we got chatting. Mm-hmm. And then we caught up for coffee.
Yep.
And stayed in touch. And then randomly bumped into each other at the airport. Which airport was it?
Auckland,
like literally on that, like transitioning from the US to Melbourne.
Yeah.
Randomly bumped into each other and then hung out in the airport while we waited.
and we had the same flight home.
And we had the same flight home. Yes.
What are the chances?
Yes. And now, well, I must say this podcast interview is a bit more deliberate.
Yeah.
Like this didn't just happen.
Didn't happen, but still like to think that everything happens for a reason.
It does. It does. So look, I'm really excited to have you on the show because, I mean, we've known each other for a relatively short amount of time. Mm-hmm. But from the moment we met, I was quite impressed with your ability to put yourself out there, and whether or not you're feeling fear or not, I'm not sure. We're about to find out.
Yeah.
But you have recently embarked on the journey of business ownership, and you've also pivoted a number of times since then on your journey of figuring out, what is that thing that you're really, really good at and love doing. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's an amazing story of how you have gotten out of your comfort zone. So this is something that I want to highlight today in this conversation. And because a lot of the people listening are, doing things that might be they want to do things that are outside their comfort zone, but maybe the fear is holding them back. So I would love for you to share your story so that we can show other people that, they can do it too.
Yeah, for sure. So just like anyone else is listening to this podcast, so my story started in the workplace, and whether you want to start a business or not, it all starts with getting outside of your comfort zone just a little bit. So I'm 25 right now. So when I was 21, I was working at a salmon shop as a kitchen hand, and the block next to us was a gym that I went to, and I always was really fond of exercising and the gym, and it was just kind of like a dream for me to work there. And I made friends with the guy who sort of runs the gym floor, and I was also studying exercise and sports science at the time. And then he eventually got to know me, and I said to him, like I don't necessarily have my qualifications. I'm in the process of getting them. Can I get a job here? And then he saw how sort of like focused I was just in my workouts, and he thought I had a good work ethic, gave me a shot, and I got the job there working as a gym instructor. And what that entailed, it's a bit different now, but at the time it was basically I was the gym floor person who was in charge of socializing with everyone, so creating social harmony, bringing people who didn't know each other together, helping people with exercise programs, demonstrating, and there wasn't a minute where I was allowed to just sit behind the computer and just do nothing. And a lot of times it was in the evenings, and at the time I just come out of uni, I was relatively, I'd say, introverted. I'd still go out to parties and stuff, but like going outside my comfort zone and trying to approach someone who I don't know and strike up a conversation when they don't look like they want to have a conversation.
How was that for you at the beginning?
It was very daunting. But when I had a manager behind me saying like, you need to do this because it's your job. And I was paying pretty well as well. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to embrace this. And then I would just, so I made like a challenge myself to say like, instead of awkwardly coming up to them, I would use some sort of environmental cue to come up to them and just strike up a conversation. So
like what?
Well, like sometimes they're watching the TV and I'm like, what are you watching there? And then something like that. Or they'd be doing some exercise and I'd be just like talking about like, oh, so like what kind of program you're doing? Or they had a t-shirt and I'd talk about their t-shirt. Just little sort of things I would just spark a conversation with. And I got more and more confident doing this. And then was doing this for about a year or so, and I broke up with my girlfriend at the time because I won't go into it, but it was just like messy. And I decided I wanted to go travel and just, quote unquote, find yourself or whatnot. And
That quarter life crisis.
not even. I was 23 at the time.
23. Oh, so young. What was I doing when I was still at uni when I was 23.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
And because my sisters had been traveling a lot before, and they said, like, if you go traveling and you go by yourself, then you can get a lot more confidence in your ability to just be more resourceful and just get to know people without feeling like I'm afraid what they'll think.
Had you traveled by yourself before?
Previously, no. Always with either family or with a group of friends. So
where'd you go?
I did a university exchange in San Francisco for about 5 months. And then after that, I did a bit of a road trip with some friends, but then I went to BC, so British Columbia, and I backpacked around there for about a month and a half. And in that process, I had to do stuff like couch surfing. I had to do stuff like...
Can you explain what that is for people who don't know?
Couch surfing is a really good tool if you're on a budget for accommodation. It allows you to hook up with local guests who offer up their couch, and in exchange, you just cook a meal, buy a bottle of wine, and you have to talk to them. Like, you have to get to know them. Can't just be like a hotel and close the door. So that was the first step. And there's some crazy stories from that, which I won't get into on the podcast. And then I also had to do something like hitchhiking as well. So beautiful scenery in British Columbia. So it was really nice. Never hitchhiked before. Didn't know what to expect.
Oh my God, you could have been murdered like that couple.
Yeah.
Recently.
I didn't go. Don't say that.
No, but this is in the past. Like, I'm just saying you could have. I'm not saying you're going to be.
Yeah. Luckily, I wasn't as remote as they were. They were very remote, those two. It was really interesting. So you get in the car, you have to talk to these people. And in the process as well, like, I'm learning to get more confident, speak with people. And there is these 2 books that I have in my backpack. Some people think I'm crazy for carrying a library with me. I had 2 books that I would read all the time, and be The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and Tools of Titans. And
that's a big book.
It's a big book.
That's a really fat book.
I was hiking with that book, and
you could kill someone with that book. Maybe protect you from the murderers when you're hitchhiking.
I remember someone's like, "Can I hold your bag?" And they held it, and they're like, "What is in this bag?" And at the very top was a book, and they're just like, "You're an idiot." I'm like, "No."
Have you heard of a Kindle?
I know, but I was out in the wilderness for a lot of the time as well.
No Wi-Fi.
No.
Or power.
No.
Okay.
I didn't see any people for 5 days at a time sometimes.
So you read The 7 Habits.
Yep.
What did you get from that?
Look, I can't really recite all the 7 habits off by heart, but the second habit is a really good one, and that is beginning with the end in mind.
Right.
So I use that in the regard saying, like, most conversations, most people you approach, or activities you want to approach in life, imagine that you're at a funeral of yourself and everyone there is around you talking about you. What do you want them to say about you? Is there going to be a few people who are just like, yeah, he's a good dude? Or are there going to be like hundreds of people crying like, he did so much, he was a giver, he really cared about me? And I made that decision to be really that person, to like show up, be present. And
so at the time, if you were, I know we talk about death on this podcast quite a bit. If you had died, What do you think at that time people would have said about you compared to what you would have liked them to say about you?
Oh, like he's a little bit quiet, doesn't always engage, like he's soft-spoken. This is a really tough one to put me on the spot like that.
And how would you have liked them? So once you read the second habit, what were your thoughts of, this is what I want people to say about me at my funeral?
I want them to feel like Jules comes with excitement and with energy. And when I'm with Jules, that he really cares about what I have to say, and he's curious, and he's not only curious, but just not faking it as well. Like, he's genuine about how he approaches a relationship.
So it sounds like that had a profound impact on you.
Yeah. And when I came back, a lot of the friends said to me, you're almost like a different person. And it was a really assuring feeling, because I felt like I carried everything from what I'd learned at the gym and stuff and on my trip, and then I brought it back to everyday life.
Yeah.
And
And
sorry,
then what happened? So then what did you start to do after that?
Well, in the Tools of Titans, there are all these amazing entrepreneurs, and they brought up all these success habits as well. And I kind of wanted to just be different. And I felt like I was serving a purpose at a gym that was just only to a small amount of people. Like I wanted to serve more people. And they had all these habits that 80% of successful people did. Stuff like meditation, stuff like journaling, breath work, mindfulness, exercise, basic stuff everyone knows that they're supposed to do, but doesn't. And I've made it a foundational habit of myself to apply these habits and use that to try and leverage the second habit, which was beginning with the end of the mind.
Amazing. So then where did you get your idea for your first business venture?
Oh man. Okay. So because I was exercise related and I was really into keeping the joints healthy and mobile from Tools of Titans, I learned some of the tips and tricks from that. And I wanted to go and help older people go and improve their mobility, because I noticed a lot of older people were getting frozen inside of retirement homes and whatnot. And I started going through the hoops of that. Business name registered. I got customer testimonials. I built the website. And then I got to actually, the legal requirements, the contracts you had to sign with the homes and whatnot. And first off, those first two were quite expensive. And then the type of customer I'd be dealing with didn't have a lot of money as well. So I did a lot of customer research, going there saying, how much would you pay for a class like this? And everyone will be saying like $5. And then I was like doing the numbers. I'm like, is this even worth pursuing? Like I want to help people, but I also don't want to live in poverty as well.
So what were the key lessons or maybe the top lesson that came out of that experience?
Rethink, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should go and pursue it. Like, do you really want to serve these people? And are these people in a position to be like a good customer, a good fit?
And what was your state of mind while you were pursuing this? Because usually when we pursue something that's completely new and out of our comfort zones, there's a bit of resistance or fear there. So what was going on for you?
Oh, definitely. So I remember the very first time I had to walk into one of those homes, and it was a really fancy one in Kew. So I went there.
It's a suburb in Melbourne, by the way. A fancy suburb in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Lots of rich people.
I did something a little bit like a black hat tactic. I noticed that the doors wouldn't open. So I waited for a resident to walk in, and I just tailgate the resident, and then I walked in.
They're like shuffling in slowly and gave you plenty of time to get in.
I was just dawdling at the sidewalk, and I'm like, oh, there's one coming. And I walked in. And then I just started, and I wanted customer research, and I just started talking to some people. And then a staff member came over to me and she's like, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, just having a chat here. Like, are you someone's grandson or something?" Like, no. I was wondering if I could talk to the manager, if that's all right. And she was just like, basically, like, "No, who are you? What are you doing? Get out of here." And I did that for a few different ones.
What was the response?
All of them were just like, "Who are you? What are you doing? You're not supposed to be here."
And how did that make you feel?
It made me feel like this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
So it sounds like you and your youthful energy, you were like, yeah, I'm going to give this a go. And this is something that I love about pursuing your very first business idea, is that you don't actually know what could potentially happen. So you don't know, this, like what failure looks like, because it hasn't happened before. So I found like I was the same when I first started. I was very gung-ho. I was like, yeah, this is totally going to work. And I found I actually had less fear than I would have now, because I know how much work it is. I know how hard it is.
Definitely.
But when you first get started, you don't actually know how hard it is. So you just go for it.
Yeah, totally.
And so what started to happen then once you realized, oh, this is really hard? What started to happen for you?
This was really hard. I just thought, okay, I'll try something a little bit different, because it just seems like the end goal is too far. And I had all these photos, I had all these experiences, and then I saw that people were helping others through their words on blogs. And then I started a blog at that point.
For who?
It was on my own, and it sounds a bit archaic right now. It was a website called Steemit, and they paid you in cryptocurrency at the time when Bitcoin was almost the value of a house. It was worth a lot of money. So every post was making me like $50, and people were engaging with it and saying it was very helpful. I'm like, wow, this is the thing I want to go.
So was this another thing that you were really good at naturally?
Yeah. I was good at writing in high school, and I felt like this was like a bit of a knack. So I think
it's worth pointing out here that in these two instances, you were pursuing your zone of excellence. Would you say that?
Yes. I was good at that, the mobility stuff, and I was good at writing and presenting stuff like that.
And you had that expertise already in the health and fitness industry.
That's right.
So for those of you listening who haven't listened to the episode I did called Are You Living in Your Zone of Genius? If you're wondering what we mean by zone of excellence, go back and listen to that. And Jules, you actually reached out to me after that and said that was a great episode and you really resonated. Episode. Yeah. So to quickly explain, your zone of excellence is when you're in your zone of excellence, you're doing activities that you are really, really good at. You've got the training, you've got the experience, people pay you well for it. You might have been doing it for a long time, you might have studied it. So you're going to be good at it already. You're excellent at it. You're better at it than most people, and people pay you well.
Mm-hmm.
But
does it give you energy? Does it give you fulfillment? Do you wake up out of bed being, yes, I want to do this?
How did you feel when you were writing these articles?
Well, the initial thrill of making money was pretty good. So, and then, when I didn't have to, but I chose to miss social events so I could keep up with my blog. I chose to, spend time where I'd normally doing leisure time working on the blog. And at some points, it just felt like, do I really want to do this? Like, I'm just regurgitating my events. There's a few people being like, yeah, this is helpful, but am I really creating impact? And
going back to the funeral idea.
Yeah, pretty much.
Are people going to say, he wrote really good blog posts?
Exactly.
He earned a lot of Bitcoin.
I know where to go in Guatemala now. Yeah.
So to clarify, how long were you pursuing the idea with the people in old folks' homes? Is that politically incorrect? The retirement villages.
Yep.
How long were you pursuing that for before you moved into article writing?
That was, I guess, very short, probably like 3 months.
Okay, so you did that for 3 months. You're like, not working, seems a bit hard.
Yeah.
I'm going to go move into this blogging.
Yeah.
How long did you do the blogging for?
Probably about 5 months.
And then what happened?
And then there was a Bitcoin bubble burst, and the value of my post went from $50 to about $3.
Oh, no.
And so it was like, I'm writing for literally nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So then you started to rethink.
So
right.
same sort of pattern like happened before. Like, do I want to serve this audience? Am I making enough money? Am I making enough impact?
So what was the lesson you learned there?
Well, I actually learned a good lesson was that being consistent, when you were consistent with whatever you were doing, people appreciated that.
What do you mean by that?
If you show up, whether it was for a blog or when you say to yourself, like, I'm going to show up, or when you have integrity and you're telling someone, then it pays off in the long run.
Love it. So with these two ideas that you've now gone, okay, probably not going to do that. Did you have any like self-doubts or, was there an inner voice telling you, you're no good at this? Like, what was that self-talk like?
Okay, thinking back to this, my initial thoughts, I was actually not quite. I was getting excited because I was like, okay, I've learned some stuff. So let's see if I can do something else.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like you were still in that, you were quite happy to be in that period of exploration.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to try this, see if it works, doesn't work. That's okay. I'm going to move on to the next thing. I'm going to try something else. And you continue to learn along the way.
Exactly.
So what was the next idea?
All right. So I was coming up to the end of my exercise and sports science degree, and I thought it would be an excellent way to showcase my credibility by starting a personal brand in something called biohacking. Have you heard of biohacking?
Is it when you like do stuff with your body to make it perform better?
Yeah. Have you heard of bulletproof coffee?
Yes, I have.
So
I drank it before.
Yeah, the guy who runs that, his name's Dave Asprey. He's
Yep.
kind of like biohacking king. Tells you like all these different hacks, supplements, lifestyle strategies, nutrition to really get the most out of your biology and your
Sure.
body. And I was super passionate in that. It was about health. Do you want to know what happened next?
Of course, of course. So wait, how did that pan out? Like, what did that look like?
Well, I did the same process. I built the website. I was finding my audience, trying to serve the audience, doing everything stuff, learning all this marketing stuff in the process.
And how are you going to make money from it?
Yeah, I was a bit unclear on that. I was just like, build it and they'll come, which
Right.
is a terrible piece of advice, by the way.
It is. It absolutely is. All right, so you built the website.
Yeah, and my initial thought was I was just going to build a social following, engage with those people, figure out what they want, and then sell them that.
Yep.
And what I found out was that, and this is the same with group fitness instructing and personal training, is that health is kind of like an onion. So people want a health transformation on the top layer of the onion, but when you really get to know these people and you work with them one-on-one, there's a few other underlying problems underneath. There's trauma, there's insecurity, there's anxiety, and you're not only a trainer or a coach, you're kind of like a part-time therapist. And there was a weird pattern I noticed between that with online business and that with what I was going with personal training. I'm like, this health space is giving me a weird energy. Like, I don't want to quite serve this audience.
Right. So it sounds like you're learning a lot about like who are the people that I actually want to serve.
Yeah.
Like, do I love these people, or am I a bit like, I don't know if I want to deal with these
Exactly.
people?
Zone of excellence again.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're very much still in the zone of excellence. Okay. How long did you do that for?
6 months.
So you pursued that for 6 months. Did you make any money?
I made $0.
Did you build an audience?
I built a mini audience of about 1,000.
Yep. But then they didn't give you any money. Or did you sell to them at all?
I didn't make. All I made was an email list, a few offers, but no like monetary offers, because I was just telling myself the story like, I need to build trust first. I need to get more information, but in hindsight, I should have just made them an offer.
Well, that was the way my very first business idea for design students. That's what I did. I built a lot content. I built the website, but I didn't actually put offers out there. I didn't sell people anything.
Yeah.
So you did that for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the moment where you went, maybe this is not the right idea either?
The moment. I remember I was actually getting a lot of questions in my Instagram inbox, and this is where I was gauging what sort of like these potential clients would be like. And I remember I woke up and there was like 5 or 6, and people were like, I need help with motivation. I need help with getting out of bed. And I realized like, okay, do I want to go down this road?
Yeah.
Not really.
I don't want to be texting people going, come on, get out of bed.
Yeah, I'm not a life coach.
Yeah. So in that moment you realized, all right, this is not for me. And then what happened?
I kind of deviated from the path of wanting to help people. And I don't know what was going through my mindset. Maybe it was like a scarcity mentality that I made no money from that business, that I wanted to pursue something that was more lucrative. So I took the marketing side of that, and I presented it to local businesses. So like Facebook ads, lead generation, chat bots for automation. And I had some initial success really quickly with that. It was good.
So you went to other businesses and said, hey, I can help you market yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then is this still a zone of excellence?
Zone of excellence. And I quickly found out that all that sort of stuff drains the hell out of me.
Right. Give me an example of that.
Okay. So let's just say that you wake up in the morning, and what would it be like to you, Christina, if 5 bosses are asking you different things?
So instead of having one boss, like at a job, you've got 5.
Yeah.
And you have to respond to all their different requests and make them all happy.
And they're on different timelines of different projects.
Right.
How would you feel?
Well, I'm not very good at doing that sort of thing. So I'd probably feel very drained and stressed.
Yeah. Would you feel overwhelmed?
Probably.
Would you feel like you're trapped?
Yeah, probably. I'd feel like I have built myself 5 jobs.
Exactly.
Is that how you felt?
I built myself a slavery job, basically. This was not a business.
Mm. And so how did you feel at the end of each day?
I remember there was this weird part where I won't say the name of the restaurant, but the restaurant had hired a head of marketing and he was liaising with me. And I remember my point of contact was not with the heads of the business anymore. It was with this head of marketing. And instead of me calling the shots, it was me getting permission to call the shots with this one client. And that was just like, it was doing my head in, really. Like I wanted to do a launch campaign, for instance, and it would take 3 weeks to get approval from this guy. It would work, but then there'd be kinks in it and then they wouldn't be happy. But I said, look, I've got your results, but it's just not the complete result that I promised at the start. And it was just felt like unfulfilling because these people weren't having a connection, a relationship with me.
But you were making money.
I was making a bit of money, yeah.
So what was the thought process around that? Like, were you feeling like, oh, this is good because I'm making money, because you didn't make money from your other ventures. So what was going on in your mind around that?
Yeah, I felt really alone. And I wanted to bring this up with your audience as well. So like if they wanted to do something new or something different, whether it's a business, pursue a passion or a hobby or something.
Or a new job.
Yeah, exactly.
Different industry. Yeah.
So many people are looking for permission from everyone. And for me, I only had 2 people who I had sort of permission from. One from my dad. The rest, I have I have 2 other sisters who were both just like, not necessarily like supportive, but weren't really like, how should I put this? So they weren't not supportive, but they weren't like, yeah, go Julian. And my mum was just like, old work mentality. You need a job, 9 to 5. And then, so it was my dad who was behind me and my sister who was, my girlfriend who was behind me as well. Yeah. And they were the ones who had permission to have. So yeah, just like a side note, if anyone wants to get a new job or anything, if you can just find one person to give you permission to do that, that's all you need.
Do we even need one person?
Technically, no. But if it's your first time like that,
yeah, it helps.
It helps a lot.
Yeah. I remember when I left my architecture career, a lot of my friends, similar to your sisters, so they weren't unsupportive, but they weren't like over the top supportive. And I've come to realize that a lot of people don't understand what it's like. They don't understand what it is like to do something that's way out of your comfort zone, like changing a job into a new industry or starting a business. So they don't realize how powerful it is to actually say, hey, I get what you're doing. Good on you. Keep going. Like they don't get how important that is.
Exactly. Yeah. And they don't quite understand where your end goal is or why you're really doing it. They just think it's another crazy idea that you're doing.
So then tell me, Jules, what was the moment where you thought, screw this, I don't want to deal with 5 bosses anymore?
It was when I just previously mentioned before when I was doing that launch and it went well for the restaurant, and then they ridiculed me for the launch because it didn't go as well as they thought, even though it was a pretty good launch.
Right. So how long were you doing this marketing phase for?
That was from January 2019 till about August 2019.
And meanwhile, you're still working in the health and fitness industry?
Yep.
Okay, so you're doing this on the side as you're still, you're still pursuing your other
paying
career.
Paying
the bills, yep. As we all got to do as business owners, as we all got to do. So what was the biggest lesson that you learned? What did you learn about yourself from that experience?
From which experience?
From the experience working with the with the business owners, so doing the marketing for them. What was the biggest thing you learned about yourself?
Okay. It was to slow down and really understand who you want to serve and then why you want to serve them before you sort of jump into it. Even if it's your zone of excellence, are you at the end of the day feeling like you made an impact? And is that person you're working with giving you energy? Or are they taking it away from you?
I think, and what you mentioned before about the habits of successful people that you read about in Tools of Titans around that meditation piece, I think that is so important for building that self-awareness so you can tell when you are feeling drained. So you can be aware of, oh, I feel really energized after doing this thing, or I feel really drained after doing that thing, because those are all clues as to what is your zone of excellence, perhaps, or your zone of genius.
Exactly. So whether it's entrepreneurship or in the workplace, if you can feel that it gives you energy, obviously there's going to be days where it feels like this is a drain. Everyone gets that. But if probably like 80, 90% of the time, it feels really energizing, you're on the right track.
So, Jules, let's stop talking about zone of excellence. Let's talk about the zone of genius, because I do believe you have found your zone of genius.
Yep.
What is it, and how did that come about?
It is being able to extract people's story out of them by interviewing them.
Amazing. So, and I know, like, when you told me this, you were really excited, and I believe you're launching a podcast about it as well.
Yep.
Which is really exciting. So can you tell me the story about how did you discover this, and what made you go, this is my thing?
Good question. So you can see, if you're seeing in the camera, I'm smiling because I'm really excited about this.
Excited.
So when I was super frustrated with that launch, that was pretty good, but they thought it was not that good. Enough bosses. I saw there was a marketing event in America, and I was in a Facebook group where these people were as well, and I had a look at a lot of their profiles, and I saw the way they were engaging, and everyone was excited, and they really wanted to change, and they had a lot of the audiences that they had influence over. They wanted to create positive impact in the world, and I thought, like, this just has to be the event that I need to go to. I want to surround myself with these people, and I went to that event in Boise, Idaho. It was called Offermind, and it was so good. I met so many like-minded people and made so many connections that it basically paid for itself in the process.
And I believe that you put quite a bit of money on the line from memory, because I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah.
Well, no, I heard about it on your podcast.
Yep. It was probably about $3,000 and a bit at the time. I did have to borrow a little bit from my dad in the process, just being honest.
But you were like, I'm going all in. Like, I'm committing. I'm doing this thing. And I remember you saying that
I used all my money.
I remember you saying on your podcast that the fact that you put all your money on the line, it was going to force you to then take action and make this happen and make this a profitable business.
That's right. Yeah.
And has it worked?
It's definitely on its way.
It's on its way? Yeah.
It's definitely on its way. Yeah. I met all these amazing people. That's the important part. If you go to an event and you meet these amazing people, definitely stay in touch with them. That's like rule number 2.
Yeah. So then how did you discover that you're great at interviewing people?
So in the process, I still wanted to do this chatbot stuff, but changing the audience up. And I wanted to do storytelling because it worked really well with that launch I did with that other client. And so I wanted to do storytelling with chatbots, BOTS. If you're not sure what it is, it's like an automated messenger inside Facebook. I wanted to help create these online coaches and course creators tell their story so that they could really build connection with their audience and break down any objection they might have so they can take a positive action in their life. And in the process, I had a questionnaire, sort of like a story structure, 8 steps of a story. And so, do you want to go over the quick steps of a story?
I'm conscious of time,
That's okay.
So let's get into, like, so who was the first person you interviewed?
Yeah. Okay. So then, I didn't quite interview them. I had a piece of paper, questionnaire, and they both said, the 2 ladies said, I can't write this. And then one of the guys who wrote something, I just thought, this isn't any good. So I took it upon myself to interview them. And instead of just going through the questions, I didn't even realize this. I just interviewed them, had a transcript, and then I saw what I was doing to get really good stuff out of them unconsciously. I didn't realize it.
And so this is something you didn't realize that you were good at before?
I thought it was okay. So I'd always been, like I said at the start, striking up a conversation, asking questions, being genuinely curious in people, like the second habit.
Yeah.
And that may have just helped unlock that epiphany moment. Wow, I can actually extract the story. Because all of them at the end were saying, like, I've never been able to tell the story like that. I have a lot more clarity in my messaging now, who I want to serve and what their problems are. So it was really, really nice feeling.
So can you describe what the zone of genius is?
The zone of genius is being able to identify, first off, what kind of story they have, and being able to identify first where themselves started, how they were feeling, the problems.
I mean, sort of in general.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, I'll repeat that question. So can you explain? So it sounds like, so you've shared that this is your zone of genius, right? Can you explain to our listeners what the zone of genius is in the general sense?
Oh, the zone of genius is, if you can think of flow or effortless, time stands still, you get energy from your work, things are easy. That is zone of genius.
Where it's like work that doesn't feel like work. And also importantly, you're better at it than pretty much everyone. So you're really, really good at it.
Yes. And to a point where you'll explain it to someone and they'll just be like, wow.
Yeah.
But
then to you, you're going, I don't know, it seems easy to me because you're in flow.
Exactly.
Yeah. So is that how you felt while you were doing these interviews?
Yeah. They were good. Amazing. I felt really good.
So how are you feeling now? Because I know that this is something, having had all these different ideas and ventures and things that you've done along the way and then pivoted and changed your approach. Is there something about this idea that's making you go, this is the one? Or are you thinking, oh, this could be like the other ones?
That's a good point. I still don't know yet because in the process, it's still just testing the waters, and this is what the podcast is going to be about.
Yeah.
Gone through a few validation phases. People have been liking it so far in the early stages, and so we'll just have to wait and see. But so far, like we said, it's like energy is really good, doesn't feel like work. I feel like I'm impacting people in the process. People are saying this is actually going to be helpful in what I'm doing, rather than saying, great blog post.
Right. Is there anything else about this particular venture that for you, there's something different about it that gives you more confidence in it?
Yeah. So the people who I've been working with are quite influential in terms of the people they work with or they impact with. And a lot of them are saying, I've never seen anything like this. I haven't seen anyone simplify the process so that it's teachable and understandable and in lay terms.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, Jules, look, I want to say a big congratulations to you. I admire your tenacity and your ability to say, you know what, I'm going to try this. And even when it doesn't quite work out the way you wanted, you go, that's okay. I'm going to go to the next thing. I think that's a really amazing quality to have. And I'm sure that where you're going right now with this, you've got all the right tools in your toolkit that you've built up over the last few years through your other experiences that you're then going to channel into this venture as well.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I have one last little note for your listeners.
Yeah, of course.
So I heard a little fun fact the other day, and that was, if you want to get more influential, you should get better at storytelling.
Oh.
So if you can use stories to convey facts, to counter arguments, to describe a concept, people will listen to you. So that's why you should listen to my podcast.
I see what you did there.
Storytelling Secrets.
All right. So it's called Storytelling Secrets. When does it launch?
On December 2nd.
December
in the
2nd?
US. So December 3rd for us in Australia.
And it's for people who want to learn how to become better storytellers?
Yes. Especially when it comes to using it inside of your sales message. I will be bringing a lot of entrepreneurs onto the show.
Yep.
In my launch, though, there will be a few quick tip action steps that pretty much anyone can use for themselves.
Love it. And where can people connect with you?
The best place right now is probably on Facebook or LinkedIn. Julian Danielak.
Awesome. And I'll link that up in the show notes as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Thanks for joining me on the show.
I'm really grateful. Serendipitous again.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you real soon.